Hello and welcome to Story Meadow, stories for car journeys, bedtime and any other quiet time. My name's Marion and I'll take you on an adventure and we're going to meet some amazing new friends. We might learn a new thing or two and we're going to share some brilliant ideas that you might want to play afterwards or talk about with friends or family. I really hope you enjoy the story. I started making up stories for my own children, Anna, Ben and Noah, and they love them so much, they asked me to share them with the world. So wherever you are, I hope you enjoy this, and I'd love to hear from you too. So if you do want to share where you are in the world or share about a special occasion like a birthday, I will do my best to give you a shout out on the podcast in the next episode possible. All you need to do is ask a parent or a grown-up to email in at info@storymeadow.co.uk and I'll do my best to read them and share them on the podcast. Okay, enough chatting. Let's get all cozy so we can relax into the story. Let's take a first big breath in through your nose and slowly back out through your mouth. And this time, put your hands out in front of you as if you were holding a lovely hot chocolate in your hands. You're going to breathe in the smell through your nose. Smell that lovely chocolate. And then blow out softly through your mouth to cool it back down. Lovely. Well done. I think it's time to start our story. Are you ready? Billy Bunny and the Lost Egg. One day, Billy Bunny and Squirrel Lily were playing in the woods together. They had a lovely playground and they had made a seesaw in the playground. So they had put a round log on the floor and then a long branch on top of that was kind of wide and flattish, and then they could sit one at each end and go up and down, seesaw, seesaw. And they were getting really into their game. In fact, they were getting quite carried away, and Billy was hopping as hard as he could to try and make Squirrel Lily fling up into the air when she went up, and then Squirrel Lily would do the same back to Billy, and then wibble, wobble, whoa, Billy went flying off the end and splattered into a big pile of leaves right near some bushes. "I'm okay," he giggled. I'm fine, and he brushed himself off and they laughed and Squirrel Lily laughed. And as Billy Bunny was getting up out of the leaves, he spotted something. So he bent down into the bushes and there were sort of some brambles in the way as well, so he was careful not to hurt himself and get all prickled. And he gently picked out of the bushes and of the leaves a tiny little egg. It was so small that it's about the size of 2 thumbs. Really, really small. And it was white with a little bit of brown markings on it, some brown speckled bits. "Wow," said Billy. "Look, Lily, I found an egg. I found a little egg. Come have a look." So Squirrel Lily came rushing over. "Oh, Billy, it's beautiful. It's so cute. We could keep it. We could look after it. We would be great at looking after an egg. Oh, and Billy, the little egg will peck out and it will say hello and then it will fly around our heads and we can look after it and we can call it Little Pip and oh, it will be wonderful." And Billy shook his little head. "Lily, we can't look after an egg ourselves, can we? We're not birds. How will we teach this little bird to fly? What does this little bird even eat?" Do you know what little birds eat? Little birds actually can't eat anything by themselves for a long time, and they don't drink milk like babies do, like human babies do. Their mums are very clever and they go and fetch worms and insects and little things that they can eat. and they carry them in their beaks and bring them to their babies. And their babies open up their mouths, they make lots of squawking, tweeting noises, and their mums feed them straight into their mouths because they can't fly when they're first born and they stay in their nests. Now, Billy was not sure about this. He did not know what they would need to eat. He knew he wouldn't know how to teach them how to fly, and he knew they needed to get this egg back to its family. Squirrel Lily, we have to ask around. Maybe that if we see a bird, we can ask them if it's their egg. Great idea, said Squirrel Lily. But just as they started walking, Billy Bunny had a little trip and he almost fell over and dropped the egg. Said Squirrel Lily. Billy, I think before we do anything, we should make a little soft nest or a soft protective layer to keep that egg safe and to keep the egg warm, because eggs have to stay warm so that they hatch. Otherwise, the baby inside will die. So the mummies sit on their eggs and they keep them nice and warm. And if the egg cools down too much, then the baby will not make it. So Squirrel Lily knew this. And she started to gather some long grass, a bit of moss, and some other soft things. She found a little feather, and she started to wrap those things all together in a ball. And she used the grass almost like string to tie it all together, to weave it in and out, and she made a nice soft ball for the little egg to go inside, and it did look a bit like a nest. Pop it in here, said Squirrel Lily. There we go, much safer and much warmer. Come on. So they set off, and they wandered through the forest looking for other birds. And it wasn't long before they found a wood pigeon. Wood pigeon, said Squirrel Lily. We found an egg. Is this yours? But Wood Pigeon shook her head. Oh no, it's not mine. I'm not laying any eggs just yet. Oh, okay. It wasn't Wood Pigeon's then. So they carried on a bit further, walking around. And they spotted Woodpecker. In fact, they heard Woodpecker before they spotted her. Because woodpeckers tap on trees. They actually peck the wood on trees so that they can eat insects inside the trees. So the woodpecker was tapping away and they could hear where she was. And suddenly they spotted her. Woodpecker, is this your egg? We found an egg. Oh, no, it's not mine. My eggs are a little bit bigger than that, actually, and they're nice and glossy. They're very beautiful, but they're not hatching yet. Oh no, said Billy. This is taking a long time. This poor little egg might get cold, Lily. We need to get it to its mum. What will we do? Squirrel Lily started to worry as well, but they were close to the river now, and she had a thought. Maybe it belongs to Mrs. Duck. So they ran over to the river and they saw Mrs. Duck, and she was swimming along in the river, and she actually had 3 little ducklings swimming behind her all in a row, following their mum this way and that way as they wandered along the river. Mrs. Duck, said Billy, Mrs. Duck, we've got an egg here. Is it yours? We found an egg in the forest. Mrs. Duck frowned and she shook her head. She said, Billy, my eggs have already hatched. These are my babies. And besides, my eggs are much bigger than that. A duck's egg is actually the same size as a large chicken's egg, a big chicken's egg. And usually they're whitish colour, sometimes a bit bluish as well. And she had already had her eggs and they had already hatched. It's not mine, said Mrs. Duck. Oh no, said Billy, and they sat down on a log by the river. Billy scratched his little head trying to think about where they could go and who they could ask. And Squirrel Lily had an idea. I don't know if maybe you have an idea too. Where should they go? If that little egg was lost, where could the mum be? Well, Squirrel Lily had her idea and she shook her tail and she said, Billy, I've just had a thought. This little egg does not have legs. And Billy said, yes, I know that. It's an egg. And she said, yes, it doesn't have legs. So it can't have gone very far from its nest where it fell. It must have just fallen out and landed very close to its own nest. Oh, said Billy, you're a genius, of course. The nest must have been in those bushes where I landed, not all the way here by the river. How could an egg have rolled all the way? Oh, Lily, you're so sensible. That is absolutely the right idea. So they went running back through the forest, carefully because they wanted to make sure the little egg was safe. Billy, in fact, put his paws one underneath the nest that they'd made and one on top so that it was very secure in his little paws. And they ran back through the forest, back through where Mrs. Woodpecker was. Hello, Mrs. Woodpecker. Back through where Mrs. Wood Pigeon was. Hello, Mrs. Wood Pigeon. And back to where their seesaw was. And they went and looked right near the bushes, all in the brambles, all in the leaves. And they started to hear some chirping and some tweeting. And they heard some really little chirping and tweeting, like newborn tiny baby chicks that have just hatched. Oh, that might be the nest, said Squirrel Lily. And Billy said, yes, quick, we need to find it in these bushes. And as he started to look, he felt some wriggling in his hand, and he felt that the little egg was starting to crack and starting to hatch. Oh no, said Billy, it's too late. The egg is hatching. I don't know what to do. But just then, Mrs. Robin poked her little head around the bushes and saw Billy and Squirrel Lily, and she saw the little egg as well. And she said, Billy, is that what I think it is? And Billy Bunny said, oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's what you think it is, but it's a big problem. Look, we've got an egg and it's not ours and it's hatching. We have to get it back to its real nest. And Mrs. Robin smiled. She smiled a really, really big smile. She said, Billy, thank you so much. That is my egg. I thought I had lost it. It fell out of the nest and I thought I would never see it again. And she had a little tear in her eye as Billy Bunny gently put it back into her real nest. And in that nest, there were already 2 little chicks that had hatched. And just as he placed that last little egg in, it wobbled a little bit more and cracked a little bit more, and a little robin head popped up. Chip, chip, chip. And Mummy Robin wrapped her wing around her new baby, and she was so grateful to Billy Bunny. She said, thank you so much, Billy. Without you, we would have been in some really big trouble. And now I've got all 3 of my babies all safe in my nest. Thank you, Billy. Thank you so much. Billy was so happy because he had managed to get the little egg back to its mummy, and he'd been able to watch it hatch, which was so, so special. It was beautiful. The end. Now, at Story Meadow, we actually had a go at making our own little nests. And there's lots of different ways to make nests because there's lots of different birds. And some birds make really big nests with sticks and branches and trees, or some even make nests on the ground. And some make really tiny nests, and they make them out of grass and moss and feathers. Usually, nests have something soft in them for the babies so that when they're born, they're nice and snuggly and warm. So we used some long grasses, we used moss, and we used other soft things that we could find, small leaves, some tiny feathers, and we made our own little birds' nests, just like the robin's nest. Maybe you'll have a go at making your own nest in your garden or in a park somewhere. Have fun. Bye-bye.